Welcome to Breaking News Zimbabwe, the podcast where we give you a breakdown of what's happening in Zimbabwe. It's in the name. Let's go. It's official. Monkey Pox has officially landed in Zimbabwe and it's not looking good. According to health authorities, Zimbabwe now has 2 confirmed cases of monkeypox, with 1 case reported in Harare and the other in Mbinga. Both patients are in isolation at home and are receiving appropriate medical attention. I guess it's time to get worried. Take a look at this.
Mpox spreads through close contact, including sex, causing flu-like symptoms and painful pus-filled lesions. But this new strain is proving more infectious and even more deadly. And experts fear the growing outbreak in Africa could just be the tip of the iceberg.
Sobering news coming out of Zimbabwe, particularly bad news for those who enjoy the occasional one-night stand in one of Zimbabwe's many night spots with a random stranger. Really disappointing news. However, I must say, that is nasty work.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
So that's pretty much December cancelled for a lot of diasporans, particularly Team UK and Team USA. Because what's the point of traveling to Zimbabwe and bottle popping if you can't indulge in the local merchandise? Really, what's the point? For those of you who can't resist the adrenaline rush of raw dogging in the midst of a monkeypox outbreak in Zimbabwe, we've created a step-by-step guide of how to stay safe this December. Gotcha. There is no guide.
What?
What I will say is this. Trust nobody. Avoid Stonian at all costs. I don't care who it is. Avoid it at all costs. Always keep the lights on. Always keep the lights on. You have to see what's going on. It's important for you to make visual checks and understand what's happening in front of you. So you gotta keep the lights on. Definitely, the last thing you want to do is lick it. Definitely don't do that. Definitely, no licking, no sucking, none of that. Definitely don't want to be doing any of those things. The best advice that I can give for anyone thinking about traveling to Zim this December is practice a bit of self-love. And when I say self-love, I'm talking about these bad boys. Marianne and Louise. If you know, you know. Breaking news. The figures are officially in, and just this moment we've learned that Zimbabwe's fastest growing industry is parking management. According to Business Insiders, this industry is set to grow and provide jobs for the millions of Zimbabweans who are currently unemployed. Could this be the solution Zimbabwe so desperately needs? Well, we asked the question. To learn more about this industry, we sent one of our reporters to Bulawayo to learn a bit more. Check this out.
Famous TTI, mostly known as the Bulawayo Navy SEALs, the motorist Mafia, which terrorizes car owners, finds itself at loggerheads with Bulawayo residents for targeting private motorists other than the actual perpetrators, the private taxi operators. Like City Hall, Hyper 6th Avenue, now even the public library area has become a loading bay. The tender awarded to TTI was meant to decongest the city and stop illegal parking, which can block other motorists. But the real culprits are left scot-free, amid concerns from citizens and other motorists that most mshigashigas are owned by those holding higher offices. At one time, TTI marshals were beaten down by mshigashiga operators, thus they are reluctant to claim private taxis who park willy-nilly on the CBD, placing focus on vulnerable private motorists.
According to the World Bank, 50% of Zimbabweans are living on less than $2 per day. So I guess it makes perfect sense for TTI and Bulawayo City Council to charge $1 per hour to park on some of the most decrepit roads in the world. I'll give you some context. The average cost of parking in Sandton, South Africa, which boasts headquarters of some of the largest multinationals in the world and probably the best shopping experience in Africa, is the equivalent of 25 cents per hour. Compare that to the $9 you will need to pay to park your vehicle from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Bulawayo. That is amazing value.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Parking in Bulawayo is actually more expensive than parking in Manchester, the home of Manchester United, where it costs between $5 to $7 per day. Confused? I am too. This is what the managing director of TTI had to say when asked about the exorbitant parking fees they're charging in Bulawayo. Take a look at this.
Mabuza, we've had the concerns with abantu bathi idola liyadura kakhulu. How did you come up with $1?
Ngithanda ukuthi inyoka ngiyiphonsela uNdlovu. U23 akusunguye ocharge imali. Thina we are in technology partner. Kanti uBulawayo nguye obuya lama bylaw akhe. So sifita into ama bylaw kabani? Aka City of Bulawayo akula mthetho esitshintsha sivunyelwa vele. So ngicela ukuthi uNdlovu ayibeke ukuthi kanti idola isiwe ngaphi. Kodwa mina ucace emphakathini ukuthi asithe sithatha imali yokuthi sibhadala malini ngehour. Asithe sithi thina bake basithethe sabe sithi $1 for 30 minutes. So kuyi $1 per hour. Konke lokhiyana kubanjwa yi-town planning. I-town planning iyayenza kuthiwa yi-zoning of the city. Ithi la kulama peak hour demand, la kulama prime demand, lama off peak hour demand abekwa kanjalo ama parking spaces. So kuthiwa i-peak hour demand yiyo ebhadaliswa malini every 30 minutes. Yikho ngoba le outcry laphana sasithina sifithe nje into how the city is demarcated according to ukuthi ama price akhona ame njani. Kodwa abanikazi bama price mu city council.
And there you have it. A lot of questions, but not a lot of answers. This man is about as slippery as Diddy at one of them freak-offs. Pause. This boy's slippery. Let's try again. Same question, different face. This is what the mayor of Bulawayo had to say when questioned about the expensive parking fees they're charging. Take a look at this.
I need to say that TTI is a work in progress, in that we had lawlessness in the city for a long time, and it was necessary to restore order. The previous council entered into a contract with TTI. It, in some respects, I think has been implemented overzealously, but we are constantly in touch with TTI. What we need to do is get complaints from you, and then we try to address it. But I stress it is a work in progress. I'm not justifying what they have done.
If you are expecting an explanation as to the parking fees, you're more hopeful than the people who think Zimbabwe will ever qualify for the World Cup. You need to grow up. You really do. Grow up. I know for a fact that a lot of people got excited when David Coulthard was appointed to be the next mayor of Bulawayo. Maybe you thought he was going to be the Zimbabwean version of Donald Trump, but I'm sorry to say this is actually more like Joe Biden. However, the poor version. I consider him to be the Timu version of Joe Biden. Equally as clueless, however, he's surrounded by poverty, and he just happens to be in Bulawayo, which isn't quite the same as the White House. But that's a story for another day.
What?
David is at the helm of a pyramid scheme, robbing Peter to pay Paul. You can't build an economy by destroying businesses in the CBD and prioritizing collecting parking fees from people who can barely scratch a living. If that's not a Ponzi scheme, then I don't know what it is anymore. This is exactly what happens, as a matter of fact, when you have pensioners in important jobs. Some of these elders really need to be at home drinking tea and playing with the grandkids. They shouldn't be anywhere near some of these jobs because they're simply just too important.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
The entirety of Bulawayo City Council is actually devoid of good ideas. How can we expect pensioners who don't even know what Bitcoin is to build the cities of the future and build these economies which are supposed to take us to the next level as Zimbabweans? Because on what planet is TTI a technology company? Can somebody in the comments balance me just for a moment and explain to me how TTI is a technology company? Do they have any patents? What hardware have they ever manufactured? How does ordering card readers and high-vis vests from Alibaba turn you into a technology company? Can someone in the comments explain this to me? Because I'm really struggling with this idea, But what I can imagine is that when this guy from TTI got to Bulawayo, some of the leaders in Bulawayo City Council must have been like, hey, here comes Elon Musk.
What?
How does owning an iPhone 16 turn you into a technology guru? This just goes to show the level of incompetence we're dealing with at Bulawayo City Council. It's no wonder they got duped into handing over in the region of 70% of the parking fees collected to TTI. So TTI hasn't developed any infrastructure, no new technology. All they did was buy a bunch of high-vis vests, employ a bunch of people in Bulawayo, of which there are many unemployed people in Bulawayo, and get them to go around Bulawayo harassing people and collecting parking fees. Wow, so much technology in one place. Wow, that's really groundbreaking. And I'm really sorry to be the one to have to say this, but I think it has to be said. A lot of the elders working in city councils around this country are totally incompetent and out of touch. I'm really sorry that I have to say this, but it's the truth. And that's all I got to say about that. That's all I got to say. In this segment of Breaking News Zimbabwe, we look back at the life and the unfortunate death of socialite Ginimbi genius Kadungure. The 8th of November will mark the 4th year anniversary since the death of the much-loved Zimbabwean socialite. Known for his lavish lifestyle, fast cars, and a bevy of beautiful women, here are some of Ginimbi's most viral moments. Check this out. Ginimbi was no stranger to controversy, and he had his fair share of drama. His source of wealth was a source of debate for a number of years. However, he didn't let that stop him from announcing himself as a financial powerhouse in Zimbabwe and truly a force to reckon with. So much mystery surrounded his life, and so did his death. Many conspiracy theorists believe that his death was an assassination or some sort of money rituals gone wrong. Whatever the case, whatever you think, what's undeniable is the fact that Ginimbi was an inspiration to many Zimbabweans.
See where Davido is.
And I want to say this, like me and Gina's like my big brother, so I went to him, tell him, like he didn't come to him like, yo, you need to go to, like he stayed out of it the whole time, which was really professional. I was the one that went to him. I was like, yo, Ginimbi, you got to take me back, please.
DJ Towers is actually one of my favorite online personalities, and from the looks of it, he had a really close relationship with Ginimbi. Ginimbi was the original Mbinga. They actually coined this term specifically for him because he mastered the art of curating minions in Zimbabwe.
What?
He always had a string of broke besties following him around from city to city respectfully. And DJ Towers was one of those people, and he was well looked after, and his appreciation posts of the late Ginimbi are always in good taste. I always enjoy watching them. Check this out.
nasi ndine makowa street nasi muri kundona ndecape of knowledge ndauya kuzodonedza knowledge ndikuita kunge defender kuzodonedza knowledge kudonedza knowledge ndikuita kunge defender kuzodonedza knowledge knowledge musona mukoma aukudza chokwadi mufana wawingi D Lion ari kurowa dombo ari kupenga munhu wana akangorowa dombo asiri kupenga akarowa dombo asiri kupenga ndiMoses rest in peace mukoma wingi D akaromba mukoma maimuda but akaromba ndauya kuzobvisira imaromba.
The Mbinga industry hasn't been the same since Ginimbi died, and those who have tried to fill his shoes have fallen woefully short. Take a look at this, and I must warn you, viewer discretion is advised. This footage is quite disturbing. The way Enzo is looking hella thirsty is simply beyond me. Ginimbi always treated his broke besties with dignity. When he ate, they ate. When he was popping bottles, he made sure that his broke besties also had bottles. It's funny how all the Mbingas at this table couldn't even buy Enzo a portion of chips. My boy was looking like Oliver Twist. It's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Not all Mbingas were created the same. There's clearly levels to this business. Amongst Mbingas, Ginimbi was Mbingaldo, arguably the greatest Mbinga of all time. The guy was literally a pioneer of the Mbinga business, and after him, many have fallen short. It's just not the same. What I will say is that Enzo should have just stayed at home. He had no business being at the table, especially if he knew that he didn't have the money to buy himself a meal or a drink. You know, he should have just stayed at home. It looks really bad, because how do you expect your kids to respect you when they see this video? I mean, how do you expect your wife to acknowledge you as the man of the house when you're out there pandering with the Mbingas and is caught on camera? I mean, should I call you Mr. or Mrs.? Why are you gay?
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
In the wake of Ginimbi's death, many Mbingas have tried to fill the void. Of all the Mbingas vying for the #1 spot, it's arguable that Wicknell is at the top of that list, with people like Scott and Passion Java following closely behind. However, what they lack that Ginimbi had in abundance is pizzazz. I mean, the guy had personality, he had bravado, he had style, you know, he just had that thing. He had what we call that je ne sais quoi. He had that X factor. Whereas some of these new Mbingas, it's just not hitting the same, you know, it's not hitting the same. And everyone knows what I'm talking about, because whenever Ginimbi rolled into town, all the men knew better than to let their women out of the house. Like, if Ginimbi was in Bulawayo, you just wouldn't let your ladies out of the house. And that's just what it was. So, the guy is sorely missed, and may he continue to rest in peace. Latest.